following views and opinions are based on my time and experience as community coordinator at WarGaming North America for World Warships. Information and opinions may have changed since this video was recorded. No NDA information is contained within this video. I didn't leave because of the community. Obviously, the main reason I left is I did get a new job. I'd been looking for a new job for a while because I was just really unhappy. What's funny is I actually went to my doctor's appointment yesterday for something completely unrelated. And my doctor was like, you seem a lot happier. And I'm like, yeah, I got a new job. She's like, that explains a lot. And I'm like, I just hate the generic, tell us about this. Well, what do you want to know? Influencer programs for companies are actually a really freaking great free resource. You're getting your most active, influential, dedicated players to freely support or, freely create content. When I say support, I don't mean going, oh yeah, this thing is great. When support means like the kind of more refined version of what support is in terms of freely engaging with a topic without needing to be paid. Is what I mean by quote-unquote support here. So influence programs have such a huge intrinsic value for that in that regard that, a lot of companies spend big bucks to set them up and support them. I'm not going to say, WarGaming has not done everything wrong in that aspect. There are things they have done really, really poorly. There are some things that they've done that are perceived very, very poorly, but actually, if you understand how influencer style programs or super user style programs work, do actually make sense why they have to be that way. They're never going to make it go away, I think. They have severely reduced the value of the program, both on an external and an internal facing means for quite a while, in terms of the program is not as valuable to the participants, nor is it as valuable for the company anymore as well. So while, that sort of stuff is nice, to me that stuff was never the value adder because ultimately I could just write it off as a tax expense. So I feel like they've lost a little bit of kind of what that goal is with the program. And you can see that very, very obviously in the purpose or the means that they are bringing in and inflating the program just to get people to keep playing the game and streaming the game. Honestly, they don't need to do at this point. They managed to achieve that very well with the whole drops thing. The drops bring in the audience anyway because, your average run-of-the-mill player just likes getting free shit. So I really feel like they've lost sight of the goal of the program. Back when they were using CCs to generate needed content, that was an absolute perfect use of the program. And it was a give and take in terms of CCs, and I know most people are like, oh, you don't do this for exposure. You do and you don't. Like, I remember freaking Pigeon coming to me. This was actually, I think, I was a CC at the time. I was one of the CV specialized CCs because, that was the thing back then. I remember Pigeon coming to me for 617 when the American CVs got rotated around a little bit and adjusted. And he asked me, hey, the community is going to struggle with this. Can you create something that we can display on the website? Obviously, we'll give you credit for it and all that good stuff to help the community. Because ultimately, a lot of CCs, I think, and I chase, you can agree or disagree with me, a big part of it's loving the game, but it's also wanting to see the community get better and play better. The reason I created content was A, because I liked the game, and B, because I wanted to help people get better so that they could enjoy the game as much as I did. And that was where there was a lot of value in the CCs to create that content that, yes, the dev team, the video team could do it themselves, but it had more authenticity coming from, your known users in the player base that were really good at the game. And I feel like, they've kind of lost their way a little bit with that value that they could have very easily. And I know some videos were like a paid thing, but a lot of the time if they asked, hey, we want a video for this, we know you're really good at this, could you help us out? A lot of people were like super happy to just have the opportunity to do something that could be recognized by the community. It just feels like they've the goal of that program has been get as many people producing content for the game and bribing them with codes and stuff. Which, fun fact, United States, I feel like to a certain degree, you could get in trouble for co-employment for that. Not my bone to pick anymore, but there is co-employment issues in there. It's kind of at the point where there's no real purpose of the program or no real kind of intrinsic exchange of value. Yeah, it's nice to get codes and stuff, but a lot of people would give up the codes and stuff for, you know, other opportunities, other experiences, to tie them and create a better relationship with wargaming. And, you know, free stuff only goes so far. And I feel like that's something that's really missing nowadays. I remember back when I wasn't a proper CC for the longest time because I only played CVs. But at the same time, they needed someone who was really good at CCs. So they'd bring me in and they'd give me like the test ships for upcoming CVs, like when the Cargo and the Saipan got released. I got them despite not being a CC, and I helped create some content on those upcoming. That was a real value addition, whereas, you know, it just shows the shift of intention of the program. And I think that's something they really need to look at and try and work out, you know, what the hell are they trying to accomplish? No, because it ruins gameplay for those people. The bounty events were fun because that's essentially what bounty events allowed. But if you do it on a consistent basis, it's not fun getting focus fired out. Like, I got it enough as a wargaming staff and notable member of the community. It's not fun. It, like, if you did it for like a weekend like sheriff event, like what World of Tanks does, okay, fine, but not as a consistent thing. It's just not fun. Not sure what you're talking about. New NDA rules. NDA rules didn't change before I left and haven't changed after. There was always rules within the CC guidelines about clickbait titles, sensationalism, being unfactual and stuff, and that doesn't have anything to do with NDA. Are you talking about like NDA testing? Because the reason that NDA testing, I think, went away was you saw a lot of content being made on, and this goes really hand in hand well with the other question we just answered, was a lot of people were creating videos on the latest and greatest ship that was announced in testing and not following up with follow-up videos on final completion, which is also part of the reason why WarGaming started doing giveaways for CCs who submitted final review videos. But you got a load of videos and a load of content on ships that were, you know, unbalanced and, you know, a lot of the time weren't right for the game, that never got amended. So I think, from my understanding, that is why they decided to go away with a lot of the CC testing on early stage ships. So I think that explains more why they decided to get away with CC testing, is because, again, it was showcasing ships that were in really, really bad states, and that wasn't good for the game in terms of community perception. When I was reviewing like the NACC content, if someone said, I don't like this ship is OP, I didn't care. If you don't like a ship, cool. Good for you for having an opinion. Like, that was fine. The issue was reviews never got updated and stuff like that. And then we'd have people complaining, oh, well, I saw the ship this way in, you know, whoever's review video, and it doesn't play like this. I don't get it. It was problematic. That, to me, explains why they decided to go away with some of the early testing for CCs, which honestly, like, I get it. I think there probably could have been a better way to go about it. But this comes back to like what we talked about very early on in the stream, in that it doesn't feel like WarGaming knows what it's doing with its programs anymore. It feels like they've lost their purpose. So I remember when I was a CC back 2017, give or take, ships didn't get announced. They went to super test first. From super test, after like a round or two of super test testing, that is when they got released to the CCs and the information published. So that way you got rid of like the most jankiest parts of the ships before they went public, which resulted in the initial videos being a lot closer to the ships of how they were going to be at release. Yes and no. So the issue with listening to CCs don't know what's best all the time. The CCs don't have the information all the time. And it's a case of, well, give them more information. A lot of the time you can give information. Like, WarGaming could drop every single spreadsheet they have everywhere, but without writing what the spreadsheet means, the information is going to be misconstrued, which is the issue. I think WarGaming needs to put more weight into investigating and following up on issues that are brought forward by CCs. So for example, if there's a load of people saying, hey, you know, CVs are bad for clan battles, go in and investigate it more. Look at what the concerns are bringing up and, you know, close the loop on that feedback. That's something that WarGaming is not very good at doing, is closing the loop. Part of it is because it's freaking hard to do it with, you know, 4 regions, 4 forums, Reddit, all of that crap. It's hard to do. But I feel like there is that missing from it. And it's not a case of they shouldn't be listening in terms of, oh, you know, this CC thinks it should be fixed by this way. It needs to be a case of, hey, we're seeing a load of people talk about this is a problem. Send someone to go investigate it, write up a report of findings, and then give it to the community. But kind of burying the heads in the sand is not the right approach for it. But this comes back from a, you know, I feel like there is entrenched people in that team who don't want to do that for the community. Very, very low. Very, very low. I think WarGaming, like, I talked about this more at length at the start of the stream, but it comes down to, I don't think WarGaming knows what it's trying to do with the CC program anymore. I think originally they had a goal that was very, very clear, but as it's kind of ballooned out and it hasn't been necessarily managed correctly, it's gotten muddy, and the CCs don't feel like it's worth giving feedback because it never gets actioned upon. But they, you know, they do have some valid points they bring up from time to time, and I think it's led to a lot of CCs get really disillusioned. I follow a lot of CCs on like Twitter and stuff, and I see it all the time. Them saying, you know, I'm just not feeling ships anymore. You know, I don't feel valued in it. I don't understand what I'm doing, and I feel like that is very, 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 very common with that program, because it's kind of just it's lost its purpose almost. The CC program is taking a nosedive because they don't know what they're doing with it, is more the issue. It's kind of lost its purpose. Nowadays it's, you know, trying to keep people motivated to keep streaming the game and stuff, which they already have other means to do that. Because I've been you, buddy. It sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah, the issue with the CC program and the super test is that they've lost the purpose of what those programs are for and what they're trying to achieve with them. You know, back in the day, when the groups were smaller, it was a lot easier to actually use those people effectively. Nowadays, not so much. It's a case of they just want to keep people streaming, and they're essentially bribing them with giveaway codes and tokens and stuff like that, is what that feels like.